Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pivot interview series. My name is Vernon Foster. Thank you for joining us. I have a special guest with me today. Ashley Scott's going to be coming on in just a few moments, and she's going to be telling you all about her pivot. Now, when I started this series, one of the things I thought about, or even the program, I talked a lot about me, and I talked a lot about my experiences and how I've been able to pivot in multiple careers, business, entrepreneurship. And one of the things that I saw missing was I wasn't sharing and capturing the stories of the people who I've worked with and the people that, who've implemented the methodologies that we actually teach in the program. So today is very special for two reasons. One, Ashley is not only an awesome mom and awesome entrepreneur, she's also my cousin. And I'd say that she's probably arguably the best cousin. I'm sure she'd agree with me. And also, she's going to be sharing her story and how she was able to pivot from a full-time career into starting the Oxford Learning Academy. So this is gonna be so exciting. It's gonna be so fun, and I'm excited to bring her on right now. So, Ashley, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I see you're in the swag. You're in the Oxford Learning Academy swag. I love it.
Yes, and well, it's this way. I have to go this way. Um, it's so funny because today we have so much going on campus today, and so I'm just thrilled to be here and to really have this discussion and really share. So thank you so much for hosting this series and everything that you do for everyone across the globe as a whole.
My pleasure. I think what'll be helpful if you give the people some insight into who you are and what you did before Oxford.
Okay, so I'm Ashley Scott, and I am the owner of Oxford Learning Academy, which is a preschool here in Tallahassee, Florida. We are serving students from infants to 5 years old. I also have a nonprofit, which is Creative Mind Solutions, and that nonprofit seeks to provide educational opportunities and activities that parents can do with their children as well as other consulting services as well. And so we do have a Facebook group, which is Creative Weekend Planning. Yes. Do you
We'll
remember
be
that
talking about that.
conversation?
Yeah, we'll be talking about
We
that.
were talking about that. So we have close to 800 folks in that group from all over America. And then we also have some folks that are outside of the country on that blog as well. So prior to transitioning or pivoting into entrepreneurship, because it was a true pivot, I served as the director for Title I schools, and so I oversaw a budget of $10.8 million annually.
It's a lot of money.
And yes. So with that, I've probably written over 60 million, close to 75 million dollars worth of grants, whether it was entitlement or competitive grants where you're competing with people all over. So I'm really thrilled. Oxford Learning Academy started actually in 2017. It was a vision that I had in 2017 that it would end up becoming a preschool. However, it was a dream that I've had for years. So anyone close to me know that I've always talked about having my own preschool and just really impacting early, intervention for students so that they're proficient and they're ready to compete once they enter kindergarten. Um, and so, really, it was 2017. I said, okay, I'm going to start the process. But I was also a really grant writer, and we could talk about that as we transition through the interview. So I decided to start Oxford Learning Academy, and it was a consulting firm, and I worked with many different clients across the spectrum to write educational grant proposals that were competitive so that that would yield them extra funding to do the things that they want to do.
So this was like a side hustle in addition to what you were doing full time, correct?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think what's interesting, is when we talk about pivoting and going into other careers. Everyone, and if you read Dave Ramsey and some other authors out there, they talk about the essence of having another job or having some type of other source of income. And so that source, those sources became very, very, very instrumental. It was definitely hard work and sacrifices and many, many late nights, but it's all been worth it.
And so you're working full time. You start grant writing on the side to build up an additional source of income. And then in 20, I think it was like April 2020, we spoke. We got on a call. What advice did I give you, and what happened?
Oh my gosh. So I think as entrepreneurs, especially in our culture as African Americans, we always struggle with being the face of our business, or do we want others to be the face of our business? Because I mean, it's just, we read about it, we see about it all the time. And I think one of the things that I was really very nervous about was becoming the face of my business. And I think when we spoke, you kind of shared with me like you have this vision, and almost in essence, God has gifted you with this vision. He has gifted you with everything that you need, which is one of my favorite. If you're on Zoom, you're gonna always see something where it says, "Just trust me, God." Funny because I had one of the ladies come into the office and they said, "Miss Scott, where did you find all the owls and all of that?" And it's funny because I just started collecting owls and everything before we even launched the business. So that was a whole nother thing. But yeah, so you said you need to go for it. You need to go ahead, create your group, whatever it is that will allow you to impact the masses or do what God has, provided you that talent. You need to do it now. So we talked about what that would look like. And some of my goals of, it's the middle of a pandemic. We have parents that now are forced or thrust into the trenches of being full-time educators as well as career. They're working in their career field.
Right.
So I wanted to do something for parents so that they could see like these are activities that we can do with our children while we're home during the pandemic to really continue literacy and science and education with things that we have right in our home. So you convinced me to start the Facebook group and to just go for it. And we talked about the essence of what that brand would look like and how to really come out of my comfort zone. I think a lot of times as um, people that are in career service fields, we always work behind the curtain. We work behind the scenes so often that
Right.
we're not used to being thrusted into being the
In
face
the
of
face.
something. And
Hmm.
so that was definitely a huge leap for me because it wasn't a matter of was I competent enough to handle it. It was a matter of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a face of something now. Now when you go out in public, now everybody's going to know who you are, and that whole thing too. So but going back to our conversation, I think you said something to me as if to say, if God has given you this gift and this talent, if you don't use it, he's going to take it from you.
Hmm.
And what are you going to do when he takes it from you? And I think that was just so powerful because then it had me see that, wow, this dream isn't for me to just keep. It's for me to use it to show the world for his kingdom, so for his purpose. So that was really a great conversation to help me pivot. But then we started talking about the algorithms on Facebook and what to
Right.
post and how to market and just the branding and even trademarking, and even the essence of intellectual property. We've
Hmm.
had those conversations of if you're just giving out free information, what about what remains yours?
Right. And so you built the one of the things that I love about this is, it's not me, like I just mentor, right? I just give the advice and the feedback. It's up to you to implement it. So you transition this group that you kind of had already there, and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with it. You transform it into a community, a container where families and parents that have been thrust into this world like post COVID, and they're having to literally having to like learn on the fly and teach their kids on the fly. And one of the things that I saw that I thought you were like was brilliant was that you were kind of giving them lesson plans within this container within this Facebook group, and you're almost kind of like auditioning material. You're kind of testing things out, and then you could kind of see what worked. And you were doing this with your family, right? It wasn't just like random people. You
Absolutely.
were doing it with your family, and so I think that's a key thing there too, because you're actually testing the material that eventually, I guess, could be Oxford material that you use in the classroom now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So much of what we did with the kids, we do here with Oxford Learning, and it's definitely in having those conversations with you too. It was a fine line because there are things that that make you stand out for you for your own brand, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a fine line with what you're gonna post. Do you post everything or what to post versus okay now I'm giving out everything. And now what the services. So as a business owner, you have to look at it from that perspective too. If you bake cakes, do you give out your recipes or do you give out the icing? So do you
You give
keep
out the
yourself
icing for
frosty
sure.
or do you give
KFC
them the recipe?
KFC still hasn't given us that recipe.
Right. So I mean, it was just, it was a lot of hard work. So what many people didn't see behind the scenes was we were actually out building a preschool during a pandemic. So I
Wow.
am a full-time mom now. And so I'm still working with the kids because they have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be on some type of schedule because I still have a regular job that I have to do. And so during that time, it was transitioning um, with the kids, teaching them to working to being a wife. But then also, I have clients that I'm writing proposals for.
Ah.
So I didn't sleep for so long. I think I stopped sleeping in January and didn't have my first like 8 hour night worth of sleep until I officially launched that this preschool is opening in August. I think I I actually had my parents to post it with me. So like I typed it all out, and Ethan, my son, and my mom, they kind of clicked post, and my dad was there, and then my dad and my husband, they just took my phone, and so I didn't really see my phone till like the next day, and it was like, oh my gosh, like I have how many shares I have, and I think that's when I really learned the impact that we have on people. And so I really credit a lot of that to so many people. I have my friend in New York, Apollonia, who has prayed with me every day. I have my friend here, just friends all over. I had friends that believed in me. My closest friends that I spoke to. This is about five of us in a group. They're back there, right here, actually. They're my girls.
The dream team.
And so I had them to say, wow, I really believe in what you're doing. I'm going to sow a seed into your business. And I think that sometimes people will see the talent and see the light in you before you actually come to it yourself. And so that's key too, because it's all about what you're reading, what you're eating, what you're listening to, what you're watching. There were certain TV shows that I couldn't watch anymore because it was too heavy on my spirit and my mind, that I couldn't focus on the light that I needed to focus on, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And so you're 100 days in now. So that was like the launch. Actually, back up. We kind of skipped a step.
We did.
We kind of skipped the step because you launch, right? And before you did you go full time before you launched, or was it after you launched? And what was kind of like the
Okay, so
determining factor in you saying, "All right, I'm gonna hand in my resignation, or I'm gonna make that transition."
right. So I had a full-time job, and I pretty much it was nearly a six-figure job. And I
It's a lot of
think
money
that
to walk
that's
away
a
from.
whole lot of money to just be like, I'm going to just not do this anymore. It took a while for me to get there, but I had my husband, I had my parents, my dad, who's been on this journey with me. He's like my best friend. Um, he's he kind of they kind of knew that it was coming because sometimes it's your family too, because you don't want to let them down and let them know. But also, it was we're gonna be okay because we had made provisions ahead of time
And when you say
to make.
provisions, you mean
You
savings? You
have to
mean,
save.
yeah,
You have to save.
yeah.
You have to get another job. You have to do what you have to do, to tuck funds away because. So I say that to say, with having that, with working hard and working late nights and doing all of those things as well, and um, it was just it was really tricky because in my mind it was like, okay, I could probably do it, but I knew I wouldn't be 100% at both.
Mm.
And I wasn't willing to sacrifice what the gift that God gave me for something when I knew it was time. So, I mean, what blessed us a lot was the pandemic, because with the pandemic, it kind of get put you in a place where many people use the pandemic as a time to kind of self reflect, whether it was, okay, I'm going to start making better eating habits, or I'm going to lose weight, so I'm going to pick up exercising and walking because I have the time. But I think the pandemic as a whole for me really brought the essence of what family is, really brought the essence of what financial freedom and financial literacy and what reading is, and what praying and sewing and being surrounding yourself around family and friends because they may not be there tomorrow. So for me, I had to take quite a bit of leave. In fact, I exhausted all of my leave. Um, and then once the leave was up, it was just like, I can't leave my preschool. My team needs me. So many people, you're paying people, you're keep making sure that your staff have lights on, or parents have a place to bring their kids so that they can go to work and have a peace of mind while they're there during the middle of a pandemic. So it was time because um and I knew it and I didn't want to force it. And
Mm.
so I always believe in doing the right thing when no one's looking.
I love that.
And so I knew that I could not give my job 100%, um or because the preschool was going to take precedence, because I couldn't add in all of that together. And so I just decided that I was going to take a leap of faith. So I resigned from my position. Um, and I mean, of course, I still help out with the transition and things like that. But I think when people know you're doing the right thing, it makes it so much easier. And so
They see that
it's all
commitment.
about integrity. It's all about integrity. So for me, I just made the leap. I mean, it wasn't like cold turkey leap because it's a pandemic, so you're not really at work, so you're not really getting
Right.
to see the faces anymore. I didn't have that emotional attachment like I would have. It
Right.
wasn't emotionally as hard because you're kind of secluded now. You're only with your family. You're only with the people that you love. So that was a blessing in as well, because it would have been really hard had it not been a pandemic for me to say, oh my gosh, goodbye, because I love my job. I love my community. I love what I did, but I realized that I can still have that same love and do those same things, just now in a different capacity and more, in a more capacity now.
Love it. Love it. And so you take the leap of faith, you launch. Fast forward, I think we're close to 100 days, if not at 100.
Yeah.
Where
Um,
where are you at now? How are things feeling? What's going on? Tell us more about that.
you know, um, so I've been reading. In fact, I was reading a book that we talked about um quite some time ago. I can't even. And so in this book, it kind of, and it was Sam Carpenter, kind of like,
Work the system.
work the system. And so reading that book, it kind of helped allow me to put things in perspective. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have all these things, thoughts going in our mind about why do we want to be entrepreneurs? Who wants, like when you really becoming, you're like, who wants to do this?
Right.
Um, but you realize I knew that it was gonna take time and months and things like that to make everything come together. But I always had a great support system, like my parents, my husband. Oh my gosh, my husband. He's out there. He was out there shoveling 21 yards of sand with me in the playground, or us having to paint, or just the blessing of where we are and the power that you have in partnerships with people. Um, and so it was really interesting to see that now. Um, Now I'm starting to have a little bit more free time. I think this is probably like maybe one of three times that I've been able to sit in this office.
Oh,
So now it's going really well. I'm super busy. I'm all over the place. In terms of being, supporting the teachers, or if I have to cover a class, I love it. And I think that it shows our team that we're able to do that. So eventually I'm going to have to make that shift from being the director to an owner and putting somebody else in that space and what that's going to feel like then.
right.
But um, for now, it's going and it's growing, and we have enrollment, and it was the best decision that I could have ever made. And I think going back to this whole thing, trust me, God, I haven't had to want for anything. Nothing is late. Nothing, everything is where it's supposed to be. And I really, couldn't have picked a better time. I have more time to talk to my friends. I have more time to just to be with family. I was able to set a space where I'm not, at 6 o'clock it's time to leave. It's closed. So at 6:05 we're leaving. So, but that's things that you learn over time with leadership, because I've been in leadership for like maybe 9, 10 years. So um that gave me a different perspective about time management and things like that too. So that was a good step to have. But now I enjoy reading, my crossword puzzles, just simple things, just sitting with family, sitting at a beach, sitting, just sitting. The idea of being with family and being surrounded by friends, life is truly good. And like I said, I'm excited. I have so much more I want to do and so much more to launch. So it's 100 days. So I have to realize that I can't do all of that overnight.
Yes. You'll in another 100 days. I'm sure you'll look back on this last 100 and you'll be like, I can't believe I've gone this far. So, I love that.
Yeah.
Was is there anything, Ashley, that you would have done differently, like kind of looking back?
Um, no, because it's all a part of the journey.
Mm,
I think that if you ask me, I thought like, should I have started early? Those thoughts crossed my mind, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't time. It wasn't time.
right.
And so I think as you grow older and you mature, and in my situation, being in leadership for quite some time, you just kind of grow to be where you need to be, and so you learn what you need to learn. So I think in this situation, no, I just count it all joy and just being appreciative for every single conversation that I've had with so many of my friends that were so supportive, or just being there for them. I think the hardest part is just knowing to trust the process. It's going to take time. It took me 8 years to say I'm going to quit a job to actually start a preschool, and to be able to expand that to 4 other cities. So, or 3 other cities, including, well, four, including this one. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that you just have to quiet the noise around you.
Mm,
You have to be in silence sometimes, with your family and your friends, so that you can hear what God is telling you that you need to do. And I think a year from now, if I would have listened to people to say, You're going to start a daycare, one of the most failing types of business in the middle of a
In the middle of a
pandemic.
pandemic.
Like,
It makes no
you're
sense.
crazy.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But that's the part of entrepreneurship that makes sense.
Right.
It's not supposed to make sense to everybody else because God gave you the vision.
Yes.
So I think if at one point it was like, okay, do I listen or do I just do what I know God gave me? And I had to just go for it. And I think the normal me that follows the rules, that does everything right, would have went with the this doesn't make sense. I'm gonna play it safe. And so this journey also is about not playing, safe, just going out there and doing it, just making the most. So I'm excited, but I have to say that it wasn't something that I did alone. I think and not from a financial perspective, because that was our family all together. That was, and closest friends that were like, I'm gonna sow a seed. Here you go. Many closest friends at that. I think it's just so hard because there were so many people, so many conversations that people didn't even know that I was taking it in to use that for my business for a preschool, and for them to know, like, oh my, for me to be able to open and come back and say, I really wouldn't have done this like this, um had you not talked to me. Or something as simple as one of my friends text something and didn't know I was going to use it for the preschool, but text and said, I'm having a yard sale, I'm giving away desks, do you want a desk? You want one, I'll give you two. So one of those desks is like in our our executive administrator, in her office. The other desk is the centerpiece underneath our wall arch of Oxford. So it's just small things like that where people were blessings, um, that made all of this come together. Or they sold seats by, I'm just going to give books, or they were on our Zoom with Creative Weekend Planning, or they were contributors to different things, or it was just, or other daycare providers. I have like three or four other daycare providers that were like, what do you need? This is what you need to do. Do you want to walk through it with me? Do you want to come see? You know, it was just so many people. It wasn't, that's when I knew I was on the right journey.
And I think the key there is that when you start down the path, the right people will show up in your life to help you. But you have to start on
Yeah,
that
or
path.
absolutely. And so for me, this path started years ago. When you look back, it started years ago. Um, it started even with us switching churches, from now being at a church where it's more Bible based business owners. Like, so it's almost like your entrepreneur spirit, or really cultivating us within, from me listening to Joel Osteen and podcasts from people I don't even know all over the world,
Right.
to reconnections even with my sister in Japan, who really, she does a lot of our
Social media, right?
social media. She does a lot of social media with me. And you two together helping me to push out of my comfort zone. So it's been, I mean, I don't even like to name names, because at this point,
It's a
I
laundry
probably
list.
missed so many. It's a laundry list of people.
Right.
I mean, even to where we get our shirts from, or to the idea of I wanted a billboard and having a partnership with a bank, or I mean, it's just so many people, and it's power in partnership. So when people know you're doing the right thing, and I mean, of course, you have to decipher what, or discern, is this something or someone I need to be associated with, versus is this something that God has given me? Once you're on the journey and a part of that silence, you'll know. You'll know.
This has been phenomenal, Ashley. I love this so much. To kind of review and encapsulate this into the methodology that we teach, I kind of wanted to, and you can help me with this because sometimes I miss a few things. But, when we look at pivot, we look at the acronym, the P, the piece here is the P piece here in the context of your story's potential. I'd always say, what's your potential, right? What's the skill inventory that you have? So although this was an 8 year journey, and in the last 100 days, you've really kind of made the leap into launching Oxford. Over that 8 year period, right? You were writing grants, you were saving money, you were kind of, you're kind of visualizing, envisioning what you wanted to create. So to me, that's the potential. Would you agree?
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I love the acronym, so I'm not going to try to give away all the letters. But I totally agree with that. I think back to college. In college, I'm getting my degree, and I said I wanted to be a daycare owner.
Way
And I'm
back
saying
then.
daycare owner way back then on purpose because once you realize your potential, this cannot be a daycare. This is an academy. This
Mm,
is an academy of excellence. It's two separate things. We're not just going to babysit kids. No, we have to teach and learn and nurture and cultivate. It's something completely different. We have to look at data of what's happening with the kids. We got to look at their behavior, charting their data, having conversations, looking at bringing in professional development experts to work with our teachers. So it's completely different than just being you come and we babysit, we feed, we change diapers, you play a little bit, you take a nap, you go home, you color a little bit. No. So, yes, when you realize your potential, I think, my husband, he's one that's really good because he balances me out a lot. So, like he realized the potential in me before I even could realize, but also looking at my mom and how she was when I was growing up, she was the same way. She didn't have a preschool or a daycare, but she always told me I had potential, and my dad always said that not just the potential, you are. So they always gave me the affirmations. I just didn't know how to put all of that together to get to this moment.
love it. And then the second piece is the income, right? So you walked away from a very, lucrative career, right? So you're not going to, at least the smart way to do this would be, you're not going to go to something that's going to pay you less, right? You whatever you're moving into, it has to at least be that or more, ideally more, because you're going to be working for yourself. You're probably going to have to like support other people in your family or
Yeah.
give back. So that piece was important. Um,
Oh
the
my gosh, absolutely.
the
Super important. But also how much money do you need? Sometimes we get in our minds now. Me, I'm a little bit different and we have things our situation is a little bit different. But for those folks that just say I have $0,
right,
$0 saved and I just want to start my own company now and walk away from my job. I do believe that you have to have some type of savings.
agreed. At least
You can't
I would
just
say at least 6 months to a year, because if you
I,
don't, it's going to you're not gonna create, you're not gonna produce from a place of abundance. It's gonna be from a place of I need, which is dangerous, right? Because you're not being in service.
that's absolutely right. I couldn't have said that even better. I mean, you're gonna need something. And you're gonna also you can't tap into your existing income because that existing income is doing what? Paying your bills, affording you to have your lifestyle so you don't feel like you're sacrificing everything for 8 years. So
Right.
you've got to figure out something and another source of income that you can do that is, yeah, it's a lot of work at the same time, but it's something that comes natural and easy for you where you're not taking away so much from your family. So in my situation with writing grants, it was something that I could do from basically 10 p.m. until 5 o'clock in the morning to when the kids get up in the morning. Of course, my husband works nights some weeks, or works night all weeks, but not every day. So it was a little bit different for me. So I could actually chart out that those days that I'm actually going to work on those projects,
Right.
as opposed to okay, now I'm mom and now I'm wife. So it was a little bit different in that perspective, but by all means, you have to save and you have to tuck things away and you have to make sacrifices, and that's okay.
And the last couple of little points here, I know we gotta run soon, but the last point was the so we talked about the P, we talked about the potential, we talked about the income, and we kind of hit on this already, but the vocation, right? I think most people think they want a job, but people want a vocation. People want a mission. They want to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to work on my mission, right? That's a different feeling. That's a different feeling when you get out of bed. And I believe that with you explaining and breaking this down, this has been a vision since you were in college. So this is your mission. This isn't just you opening a daycare to make a couple of bucks. This is you serving your community. This is you educating the next generation of leaders, right? That's how I hear it when I hear you speak of it. It's not just somebody who just opened a daycare. So I think it's important to make that distinction. And then the other thing here, the last two pieces are opportunities and traction. So you looked at these opportunities. Okay, I want to open the daycare. Where is it going to be? Who do I got to surround myself with?
Mm.
Maybe I got to stop watching the news. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, so maybe I got to cut some people off because they're negative and I can't be surrounded around them. And then the last piece, and I'll let you chime in here, is the traction. So once you get into motion, I always say action creates traction. So once you get into motion, you get the inertia. You get people coming to you and saying, "I have this desk." You get people coming to you and saying, "Hey, I want to invest. I want to support you. I want to sow the seed into your business." And that is the pivot methodology, like in works in action right here. So I love this. Are there any parting words that you would give to people out there that are thinking about making the pivot, whether that be out of their job into a new career? What's one piece of advice that you would give them, kind of parting words?
Oh my gosh, it's so many. I think definitely pray. Praying and meditating is something that is just outstanding because a lot of times, and don't be so quick to share everything with everyone because sometimes God is only giving you the vision. So that means sometimes not everybody, maybe no one in your whole world can believe that something can happen. And so that's power with your connection with spirituality. For me, it's my connection with God and Christ. So I definitely say that as well. And follow your dreams. Don't be afraid. No matter how old you are, how young you are, you're able to do it, and it's possible. And surround yourself around folks that they may not, all 100 people that not 100, but 20 people that I surrounded myself by, there may not be daycare or academy providers, but they may be entrepreneurs. And so it's very amazing to have that village of support from entrepreneurs because you have those conversations about, okay, what do you do about retirement? You have those conversations about, okay, what population are you serving versus how can we connect and how can we create a pipeline for people in our community to do something together. So definitely on those things, stay true to yourself. Always do the right thing when no one's looking, no matter how hard it may seem or no matter what you may envision. It's okay. And yes, you're going to have to, number one, above all, you're going to have to stay up late. You're going to have to
There's
sacrifice
gonna be
something.
some late nights and sacrifices.
Yes, if you don't want to stay up late, then this is not, you'll be able to sleep, but just right now, not right now. And so, and just really enjoy your process and
Wow.
always stay positive. Remain positive, listen, never stop reading, um, never stop going to that place of peace for yourself, and never stop loving and being kind and giving back to others. Sowing seed into others and their dreams, maybe not financially, but just being a good listener and figuring out where you can connect them to. So that's a mouthful, but I promise you, if you do those things and save and just stay focused on your vision, it will come. It will come.
Ashley, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to share, and we look forward to having you back at some point to see how many schools you've opened up across the nation. So academies, I should say. So, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for all of your help, cousin. Really appreciate it. And I enjoyed talking to you. I'm sure we're going to talk the rest sometime this week.
All
All
right, see you soon.
right.
Bye.
Bye.